Hello, I hope this finds you starting a great day, in the middle of a great day, or ending a great day. And if you're not, then I definitely hope this podcast can help you have a better day and get through whatever you're getting through. Because remember, the upside of your upside is far greater than the downside of your downside. I'm sure of that. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was just a reminder that, we all need to start from where the world is, not from where we want it to be. As we all know, the political divide is crazier than ever. Roughly half the country is loving what's going on and half the country is hating what's going on. And I'm going to keep saying it over and over. We have got to get to the middle. I mean, if there's one thing I believe more than anything, it's that extremes never work. If any of us get everything we want, it's already bad. I think we need to remember that. So don't just double down on what you want and think everything else is horrible. And, we've got to find the middle. And, I have no problem saying, I didn't vote for our current president, but I'm also very open-minded to we need smaller government. That's probably a really good idea. We're just going about it in a really bad way. Like everything in life, it's not what happens nearly as much as the way it happens. So in the meantime, we all need to just take a breath and remember that, look for that common ground. And try to, I tend to go with what I can learn from any situation instead of doubling down. Like, where's the opportunity here? How are we going to come out of this better than we went into it? And I know many people think this is the end of democracy and everything's, the end of the world and it's so bad. But remember, that doesn't serve you. I'm a huge fan of expect the best and react well to the worst. Nobody benefits by assuming that the world's coming to an end, or that our democracy is coming to an end, and that everything's going to be horrible. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on that can definitely make us feel that way. It is scary, which is also, by the way, why I have literally stopped. I've never watched the news for about 15 years, ever. And when I get my email blasts, I have no notifications on, which we've talked about many times. Please turn off all of your notifications. Nothing is urgent. But now, I have a few emails that I get, a couple for real estate, a couple for inspiration, a couple, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. But now I'm just deleting them before I even look at it because it's gotten so heavy and so much that even glancing at the headline, which is all I used to do, just kind of glance to have a general sense of things, see if something intrigues me. But more than ever, I mean it, unless you're going to go out there and do something about it, unless you're going to go pursue a solution, please stop having notifications, stop looking at the news, and it's just going to make you spiral down and be more negative. I'm telling you right now, what we can control, the circle of control, baby, what we can control is the actions we take and how we react to things. Nothing in life is good or bad. It's just opinion that makes it so. So I am going to continue to spread joy in a 20-foot radius wherever I go, to be the best person I can be, and to make the world a better place. And if we all just keep spreading love and doing the best we can do, I know it sounds very Pollyanna, yay, just be happy, but it's true. Spreading negativity doesn't seem to have solved anything. It just makes you feel worse. There's no upside to it. So try to remember that. What was that quote? The gap between an action and a reaction defines how big of a person you are, right? In my past, when I was younger, I would react before the action even happened. It was ridiculous, right? I was so hot-headed and quick to respond because I, knew what I was thinking and I had my position and all these kinds of things. But more than ever, it's take a breath. The more time you can allow between the input and your reaction, the better human you'll be. The better you'll be for the people around you, the better you'll be for whatever the cause is, because time and a gap and thinking is what allows for a better reaction. I also was also interesting too, a friend of mine I was having lunch with the other day, we were talking about the fires here in LA, and are people going to move back to the hills? Why should they? There's so much risk. It's learn your lesson. It's a fire zone. But you know what? Most of them will move back. And the ones who don't will be quickly replaced by people who do want to move back. Remember, don't ever bet against humanity. Life goes on. We will be better than ever. And for me, this is a reminder and a rule that I live by. live for the 95%, right? You have two choices in life. You can ruin the 95% by trying to protect yourself from the 5% that might happen. So, i.e. the fires, right? You can say, I'm never going to live in the hills. I'm never going to live in these areas that have anything. And you're not going to enjoy your life the way you could to protect for that 5% chance that something's going to happen. Yeah, on it, obviously, if there's a 50% chance something's going to go wrong, or 60%, yeah, then it's probably not the wisest choice, But in general, try to not live by the exceptions, live by the rules. Like, what do you want your life to look like? How do you want to live? And then just accept that there's a small risk. Because guess what? As we've talked about before, you go to the East Coast, the Southeast, Florida, you're going to have hurricane issues. You're in the Midwest, you're going to have tornadoes. And if you can find a few states somewhere that have nothing, you're just going to die of boredom. So there's always risk. So, same with people, right? I choose to trust first. I choose to default to believing in other people and their actions because it's such a more fulfilling, joyful life. If I spend all my time trying to protect against the one person that's going to screw me over, or the one thing that's going to go wrong, what a heavy, tiring life that is, right? Like, it doesn't mean you just open up your wallet, open up your home, and open up your life to every stranger. I'm not saying that. But in general, if you expect the best and are willing to take the risk, you will enjoy the journey so much more than just that tiring, heavy feeling of trying to protect from that exception and ruining the whole journey. It was like when I had the restaurants, same thing. Somebody would walk in and say, hey, the manager told me that I could come back and get a free burrito because, mine had a hair in it last week. And a manager would say, well, I need to see the receipt. Where's the note? Where's the proof? You know what I would say to them? Give them the burrito. It won't ruin us. And to take the chance that we ruin a customer relationship because somebody did tell him and that actually happened and now we're not, honoring it, that's not worth saving the cost of the burrito, and that's just a silly burrito example, but it's like that in life in general. It's better to take a chance that you're being screwed, that you're being tricked, and have joyful relationships than it is to keep protecting, from that. So that's my 95% rule. So I wake up every morning, you've heard this before, and, if my wife's listening to this, which sometimes she does, she's going to be like, you're so annoying. Because I always say, you have to wake up and say, I love my life. And I'm not saying you don't have a bad day. Of course you do. You're in a bad mood. We are like the weather. Endless cycles of happy, sad, joyful, inspired, depressed. That's okay. But in general, can you say, I love my life? And if you can't, I really want to inspire you to truly drill down. I wrote some notes here, and ask yourself, what needs to change for you to be able to say, yes, I love my life? Because there's no reason why we all can't and shouldn't love our life. We're given one life. You don't know when and how you're going to die, unless, of course, the tragedy of suicide. But other than that, you don't get to choose when and how you die, but you get to choose how you live. And it is a shame. My motto has always been, I can die tomorrow and it'll be with a smile, and my last words will be thank you. Thank you, because I'm not leaving anything on the table. So when I ask that question, I go, yeah, I love my life. And I want you to be able to say the same thing, assuming that's what you want, of course. I'm not here to dictate your life. I'm just here to try to bring joy to it and hopefully make it better. So really, truly, what needs to change for you to be able to say yes? Is it because you're after, if you're not loving your life, why? Is it because you're after more? More, and more? I think that's an affliction that we all, suffer from, especially in America. It's just, it's the land of opportunity. It's make it happen, which I love. I love that spirit. But, for me, especially with my wife and I in real estate, we're not trying to do more. We're trying to be better. I want to exceed every client's expectation. I want to be the best realtor I can be. I want to be their confidant and their warrior. That's how I judge my success. And coincidentally, you end up doing more business because if that's, how you treat clients, you're going to thrive. So, maybe you should be focusing on being better instead of trying to do more, and, are you just, or even worse, instead of trying to do more, you just thinking, and never even getting to the doing. That's the biggest danger. I'm telling you right now, it's like, I really believe that storytelling and thinking, unnecessary thinking, consumes 50% of people's time and energy. I think you will have, I always say it, I've never felt like there's not enough time in the day. There is so much time. But if you are going to use that time to be overthinking things and worrying and telling stories about what might happen, it's exhausting, and it takes up a lot of your time as well. So stop and ask yourself, how much thinking are you doing versus doing? And if you're just doing the doing, how much of the doing is effective and surgical? I've always said, turn 10 steps into 3 steps. That is the key, And remember, you are not here to supervise the universe. That is not your job. Life is going to happen. Life always happens. We don't get to choose what happens, but we are so blessed that we have the power to choose how we react. I mean, isn't that awesome? Nobody can take that away from you. You have a choice. You have the power to see how you're going to react. When you get bad news, okay, what good can we do? What good can we make of this? That's always been my default. Yes, I learned this in a restaurant chain when I was like 17. Yes is the answer. What's the question? That was something that stuck with me for a long time and still has from 17 years old. I'm 58 now. If you go into life with yes is the answer, what's the question? It's so much more fulfilling versus, oh God, here we go again. Oh geez, that's who's calling. I see this. I see the caller ID. Here we go. Instead, shift the way you think about things and don't try, to control the universe and what's going to happen. Just focus on your reactions. And over, it's really funny. It's like, I have these inspiration logs. I have all these notes in my phone that I look at every morning and all the time. I always say I'm never waiting. You're never in line waiting. You're never somewhere waiting if you have things that inspire you. The second I'm in line or waiting, I just go to my notes and get inspired instead. And no matter how much study I do, no matter how much thinking I do, it always comes down. It's really wild. Eckhart Tolle is my God, I think. Like, it's just, if there's only one book, The Power of Now, if that's all you ever read, if that's all you ever study, I swear your life will be better, because being present, so cliche, people are sick of hearing that probably, and those that haven't heard it, this is a huge opportunity for you, The Power of Now, because that's all there ever is. Really, it's be present is the 2-word answer to a perfect life. Because if you are present, for 99% of us, in the exact moment right now, there is no problem. The problems are the things that we project out. Problems are the gap between where you are and where you wish you were, where you want to be. But the reality is, that's, again, just a story. If you can just be in the now, excuse me, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold here. If you could just be in the now, you're golden. Expect the best, react well to the worst. If you can do this, it'll free up, at least 90% of your thought time and 50% of your actual time. And all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, I have a ton of time. But think about this deeply, like not just as a cliche or as a little tagline, be present, but really, ask yourself, watch yourself, catch yourself in the act. How often throughout the day are you fully present? And fully present means, like, as Eckhart Tolle uses in the book, like you're walking up the stairs and you're actually feeling each stair. Okay, Jeff, now you're being really annoying. I know, but it's true. Are you feeling each stair? When you're making your breakfast, like I'm watching the eggs fluff and fold onto themselves. I'm really enjoying like making my eggs. I'm not, with one shoulder on my phone, whisking the eggs quickly while I'm talking to 4 other people. Of course that happens and we have those moments, but if you can pull back and just be fully in the pan, that's what I say when I'm cooking. Like, cooking is my presence, because when I'm fully in the pan, it's a beautiful place to be. I'm smelling The spice is searing to the skin on that duck as it gets crispy. I'm watching as the meat kind of changes shape. I can see when it's done just by looking, because it goes from sagging to getting firm. And then when it kind of rounds out like a basketball, you've overcooked it. How did I get on that tangent? But maybe I'm hungry. I'm always hungry. But, think about that. Be in the pan. Whatever you're doing in life, be in the pan. It's not about, even in real estate, I had the greatest compliment the other day. We sold Daisy Duke's house. For any of you that are my age or in that general realm, Catherine Bach, what an awesome, awesome woman. And her family was the best. It was a pleasure getting to know them. And, the daughter became a realtor, and I ran into her the other day, and she said the nicest thing. Well, first of all, she said what I already know, which is my wife walked in the door with this flowing outfit and these beautiful eyes and this bright sunshine radiating from her. I think I'm such a good realtor. The reality is I just made one good choice, marrying Nadia. But, she said, we had all these realtors come in all uptight with their, buttoned up and with their big, thick presentations, ready to blow us away with all the data and all these marketing, photos. And she said, you guys just walked in, no presentation. I had a short sleeve shirt on with my tattoos. Nadia was her flowing beauty. And we just had a conversation. Life is not about creating a 20-hour marketing, plan. It's about being fully present with the person in front of you. Even selling houses, I say I've never sold a house. You're not going to convince somebody to buy a home, one of the most expensive purchases of their life. What you are going to do, if you're good as a realtor, is pay attention to what matters to them. Like what's important to them. I said to this, woman the other day that we're selling her house. She's older. Her husband passed away. She's going to buy a condo and downsize. And she was trying to convince herself to like this condo. And I looked at her and I said, Jan, we have this good friend, Comedy. If you're listening to this, Comedy, this goes out to you. She said the greatest thing. We had a dinner party the other night. She said, you know what I've decided? If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. It's a hard no. And that's what I said to Jan. I said, if you're not loving this condo, just drop it. Like you have to see yourself wanting to be there. You have to be like, I can't wait to move in. If you don't have that visceral connection and you're trying to make a checklist out of it, it's no good. It's kind of like when every now and then somebody will say to me, I'm thinking of getting married, and I stop them and I go, don't do it. And they go, what do you mean? I haven't even told you yet what my concerns are. I said, but you're asking. Something as big as marriage, something as big as buying a house, it shouldn't be this spreadsheet pros and cons list, in my opinion. It should be, it feels right. So my point being, it's about just being present. When my wife and I go on a listing appointment, we're really just trying to figure out what's important to the client, because that's all that matters. Like if we focus, I always say, when I do these presentations in real estate and stuff, I always say, if you want to be an amazing realtor, treat every client like it's your mother, unless it was my mother, of course, because I never liked my mother. We know that story. But assuming you love your mother, treat every client like it's your mother and you're a billionaire. Because if you do that, and I'll say this to any business, really, I think it applies to all businesses, not just sales or real estate, but the simple fact is if you approach every client like that, what does that mean? That means you're only thinking about their best interest. How can you lose if you do that? And you're not thinking about your paycheck, because the second you're thinking about yourself and the money, you're done. You need to be focused on, how do I exceed this client's expectation? What is important to them? What do they need? If you stay in that mode, you are going to win every time. So let's see, can I get off on even more tangents? But that's a lot of it is, I think we talked about work on the last podcast and being better at work and things like that. How does the circle of control affect work, right? And I think the circle of control, again, it's focusing on what you can change, what is in your circle. If you stay in your circle expands and your life and the people around you win. If you're focused outside your circle, what's it doing? It's putting weight on the circle and it's crushing the circle. Your circle shrinks and your inner circle, the quality of your life, everything gets worse. So it's about staying focused inside the circle. And one of the ways to do that with work is don't spend too much time on goals. And for some of you in the corporate world, that have to do huge planning, I get it. Like, okay, fine. make a mark in the sand. Here's where we want to be. Here's where I'd like to go. As Stephen Covey says in, 7 Habits of Highly Effective, start with the end in mind. I mean, I get that for sure. And that's part of my whole personal constitution. If you haven't heard that episode, I'd love you to go listen to that, because the personal constitution is the key to me to setting your internal compass and getting your life right. So don't dwell on the goals. Set the goals, goes fine, this is where I want to be, but really the focus needs to be on the actions, the systems. People succeed when they focus on their systems. When they focus, it's very much a Atomic Habits philosophy as well. I love him. If you say to yourself, okay, fine, there's the goal, I'd like that to happen. Now, more importantly, what do I have to do to make that happen? And then that's where the magic comes. As a realtor, I know that if I wake up every day, do my outreach, past clients, leads, people that have been introduced to, if I make those calls, if I keep working on my negotiating skills, if I stay focused on the inventory so I understand the product and how it compares to my product, my listings, or the product my clients, my buyers are looking for, that makes me better. Focusing on the rules and regulations that change, focusing on the contracts and the paperwork, and most importantly, focusing on how I show up as my best self, which is why I have my morning routine. If I keep doing those actions, I don't care what the outcome is, because I know it'll be what it's meant to be. And I know that it'll be the best it can be, because I believe that these actions will lead to that. And then I sleep like a baby every night, because I put my head on the pillow and I'm like, I'm spent. I've done what I said I would do. I've done what I said I would do to the best of my ability. I've done what I said I would do to the best of my ability, full of joy, because I'm bringing my best self. And that's really the key to any business plan, is bring your best self, because all the skills, all the inventory knowledge, product knowledge, all the great negotiating, all the quick, fast responses you have, you can be the sharpest person out there. But if you're not showing up as your best self, they will feel that energy, and it will not get you the same result, because you have to be your best self without a doubt. And one of the things I'm looking at here from my inspiration log that I read in the mornings is, and by the way, go to my website, jeffreysaw.com. That's where all these podcasts are and stuff. But if you go to that and you hit contact me, if you send me an email, I will send you any of these lists you want with pleasure, complimentary, the personal constitution, the top 10 for a great life, and then what I'm going to go over now, which is what I call power questions. These questions are great for your personal and your business life. So, feel free to email me, jeffreysaw.com, and I will send you those. But one of the things I read in my inspiration log that I wrote down for you today is, that I love, is back to how I started this episode, is your reaction, right? Never react. Here's what I read all the time in the morning. Never react until I have thought about their why. It's not about me. Empathize and understand. Use sheer love to dissolve all. And my favorite one of all time, being right never helps. Getting to the right place is what matters. So keep that in mind, because that, if you go through that process before reacting to anything and anyone, I guarantee you will have a better outcome for yourself and for your clients and for your loved ones. I don't know, raise your hand. I have personally never felt proud when I react too quickly and overreact. It's always something you wish you could take back. So, I read something the other day that Abraham Lincoln was famous for writing these long letters venting, here's what you did wrong, here's why I'm right, and then he would fold it up and put it in his drawer and never send it, because you always wish you didn't send that letter, that email, or that comment you made, so keep that in mind. And so as a summary on these things, not more, but better, raise your standards. When you raise your standards, then you don't have to be as busy, because you're only working with people that are a fit, that you can be of service to. And all of a sudden, real estate's a great example. Most realtors will try to work with, 50 clients and hope to sell 10. I want to work with 10 and succeed with 10. But the only way you can do that is to raise your standards. Hey, I'm so sorry. I only work with people who only work with me. So if somebody's not willing to commit to you, boom, you can't work with them. Raising your standards, whatever your business is, will get you better results and get you more time and give you more joy. Turn 10 steps into 3. Figure out how you can condense what you're doing to the most effective steps. That's my biggest thing. When people say it's 10 steps, I'm like, I'm going to find a way to make it 3 and have it still be as or more effective. And then time block. Time blocking is everything, because I always say, if you don't time block it, it's not going to happen, and you got to live by that, right? You have to treat everything like it's non-negotiable. In real estate, for example, a listing appointment. Nobody will ever miss their listing appointment, right? Oh my God, it's a listing appointment. I'm going to get a house for sale. But you need to treat everything in your life that way. Once you decide the actions that you need to take to achieve your goals, then you need to time block them. You really need to say, okay, I'm not turning my phone on in the morning until 9 o'clock because I'm going to do my personal routine and my workout or whatever it is. It can't be negotiable. I'm going to pick my kid up from school and we're going to do homework together. I'm going to take my wife out, my partner, the person I love, no matter what. I'm not going to say, sorry, I have a meeting now, I can't do it. I'm going to take my vacation. Realtors are especially guilty for this. It's like, how can you leave? What if a deal comes up? What if you're in a deal? There's always a solution. You have to take those vacations. You have to do what you commit to doing. So doing that time blocking is huge. So I'm going to wrap up this episode with what I have another surprise note in my computer, my phone, my iPad, called Power Questions. And these are great for yourself. Some of these are going to be focused for you potentially. Ask yourself these questions to help to get you to that place where you can say, yes, I love my life. Some of these are for family, for work. I think it's the most powerful thing, and it's a thing I've struggled with the most my whole life, because I know you'll be shocked. I love to talk. But, as they say, when you're talking, you're not learning. When you're listening, you're learning. And when you're asking questions, you're getting to the truth. Realtors are especially guilty of this, right? We go right into selling and explaining, when instead we should just be asking questions to really understand what matters to the client. So here's some questions for you to think about to wrap up. My favorite one is simply, is that true? My wife will laugh at this one because, I use it on her sometimes. We're all guilty of making these, blanket statements. You're never X. You never X. And then, with a caring, empathetic head tilt, is that true? And then just be silent, because it's amazing. Or with a client, or with anybody, with your kid, is that true? Because it makes them think about what they're saying. Well, no, it's not actually all the time, but it's just making me unhappy this time, right? Another great one is, you're saying that to say what? If somebody makes a statement and you're not understanding it, or you don't think you think there's something else actually going on. I love that. You're saying that to say what? That's a way of getting to the truth, right? Because if they're saying I should have never bought a house, I should have never gone on this search. You're saying that to say what? What else it seems like there's something else going on. Because, the other choice would be that, well, you said you wanted a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, recap what they said they wanted, but then you're not listening, you're not getting it. So asking that question. One of my favorite ones is, what did you think of that on a 1 to 10, but you can't say 7? I love that one. It's one of my favorites, and whoever knows where this came from, give that person credit, because I don't know where I heard that. I know I didn't make it up, but I love that idea, because when you say you can't say 7, what does that mean? It's either a 6 or an 8, and those are very different things. A 6 is barely better than, halfway. That's like a D, and an 8 is pretty darn good. A 7 is kind of a cop-out, right? A 7 is allowing somebody to get off the hook. It's a safe answer. So, how'd you like that meal on a 1 to 10? You can't say 7. How do you feel about our relationship on a 1 to 10? You can't say 7. How much do you really want to do this on a 1 to 10? But you can't say 7. I love that. What are your big rocks? I'm sure you've all heard that analogy. I can't remember who came up with it, but I love it. Like, think of your life as a jar, right? If you start by putting the big rocks in first, being there for my family, succeeding in my business, being healthy, whatever it is, the big rocks will easily fit. And then you sprinkle the sand and the pebbles and the small rocks around to fill the gaps. But if you start with a bunch of petty stuff, the big rocks won't even fit in the jar. So what are your big rocks? What's your personal alma mater? What's the thing you really live by? What excites you right now? What are you looking forward to? I love when you meet somebody newer, what's the most important thing I should know about you? I mean, if you really want to get somebody talking and understand them, what's the most important thing I should know about you? Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you live by? What are your motivating principles? What makes you the most mad? That's a powerful question. Even though it has a negative slant, you really learn what's important to people or yourself. Again, these are all questions you could be asking yourself as well. What does your perfect day look like? I love that one because nobody gets to have perfect days all the time. Obviously, that's not realistic, although it could be, because a perfect day for me is just being present. So whether it's good or bad, it's perfect because I was present. But, when you ask, what does your perfect day look like? And then the second question should be, so what do you need to change to have more perfect days? What's on your stop doing list? That's a good one as well. Because, we all do a lot of good stuff, but we all have our, bad habits or whatever it is. There's so many here. I think that sums it up for today. And again, go to my website and I'll send you this full list. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you can wake up tomorrow and say, I love my life.